All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming
Welcome,
to you
everybody, to
live,
the Agent Resource Podcast. Hope everybody is doing
episode
fantastic.
28.
We are just
We're
getting
waiting for
ready to
Jaime to
get
join the
started
old
here.
Facebook group to jump
Here we
in,
go.
and then we'll be talking about Google Leads because I know there are a lot of people who are interested in that.
All right.
So give us just a moment. Jaime will jump in. There he is there. Give me just a second to add him in. Oh, I see my headphones jumping. That's not a good signal.
All right.
Jaime, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I'm having the same issue that I had last time. These are brand new headphones.
Is that you? Okay. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
All right. Is that better?
Yeah, you sound good. I think it's on my end. My headphones continue to have issues whenever we go. Only time they have issues whenever we go live, which is strange because my previous set of headphones worked perfectly fine.
Are you sure it's yours? Because I could try to switch mine up.
No, I'm positive it's mine. 100.
Is it
100%.
What do you hear on your end? Is it echoey?
No, it's not echoey or anything. It's just that and whenever you're talking, instead of the sound coming through the headphones, the sound's actually is coming from the phone. So we'll have to just kick it off this way, which is perfectly fine. We'll just roll with it. That's life.
Okay.
Next week, I thought I brought my wired headphones in this week, but I must have forgotten them. But nonetheless, rock and roll. I'm gonna take these off because they're not working.
All right.
We'll just keep on going.
Cool. All right.
So episode 28, Jaime, you want to tell the people what we're talking about today?
All right, I lost you for 2 seconds. Well, let's run that back. What was that?
I said episode 28. You want to tell the people what we're talking about today?
Absolutely. We're talking about Google Leads. We talked about Google in the past, but we received so many different questions about Google paid ads. We received questions about how to rank on Google. We received a lot of questions revolving around Google. So not to get too technical immediately off the jump, but we really wanted to revisit this particular topic specifically because Google did an update. As we all know, Google loves to update in December. So it was significant enough that we wanted to cover this topic again. It's not going to affect too many of the strategies that we've covered in the past and also for real estate agents, but a lot of you that have a lot of content out there, it's important that you have this information with you. So that's why we wanted to revisit Google Leads and give you a lot of strategies to generate real estate leads, not only from the paid perspective, but also the free perspective. So thank you so much for joining us on the Agent Resource Podcast. Joseph, let's kick this off. We haven't done this in a while. What time is it?
Gosh, time is 10:47 a.m. here in Singapore. Life is good. Agents are getting closed deals, and no complaints on my end. What time is it? CST.
CST, it is 8:30 or 8:40. I have all of my devices occupied right now, so I can't tell you the exact, but whatever time it is, it's 8 something. So,
awesome.
Hey, so let us know if you're listening in live. Let us know where you're listening in from. We absolutely want to see the presence or where you're at physically, so that'll really help us out. Understand if we need to move our times around, and also we want to connect with you. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, a 5-star review goes a tremendous way.
Yeah.
Awesome.
By the way,
Joseph,
Jaime,
go ahead.
I think I figured out my problem here. For those who are listening, I got a new iPhone 12 mini, and I don't think it's the AirPods after all. I think it's the phone, because I also just tried to do wired, and the sound still came from the phone rather than the actual the headphones. Anyway,
Really?
Problem solving on the run.
You know, I think that's the same thing with me. Similar thing that my phone, my Bluetooth on the phone, and here we are with our first world problems, but let's keep going. the Bluetooth on my phone is the same one, the 12. It doesn't connect to my either to my speaker. What do you call those? The speakers. It doesn't connect to those, and it also doesn't connect to my Tesla oftentimes. So again, first world problems, but
major first world problems.
There's still problems, right? There's still problems. All right, we have from Atlanta. Welcome from Atlanta. Appreciate you being here, Andrea. Really do appreciate that a ton. Joseph, if you're okay, let's go ahead and start with the paid perspective first. I think that we had a good amount of questions for both sides, but from a paid perspective, I think we want to knock that out first and then go into the free stuff. What do you think?
Sounds great. That sounds great.
Awesome. So just giving everybody the basic formula of paid advertising. So you're going to hear it called Google AdWords, which Google AdWords, that word itself is not the correct way of saying it now, since they dropped that about 3 years ago. So now it's called Google Ads. I know it's a technical little nuance thing, but I want to be accurate with what we share. With Google Ads, the best thing that I can tell you to actually get some results is wherever you're driving traffic to, meaning wherever you're driving people's attention, whenever they click on your ad, it has to be on point. It has to be decluttered to where whatever it is that you're, and we'll talk about ad copy here shortly, but whatever it is that you're offering on that ad, you absolutely fulfill immediately and are not confusing your audience. That's the most important thing that I can share with you, because oftentimes, Joseph, I don't know if you run into this like I do, but whenever we're talking with and consulting through with real estate agents, their traditional website seems to be shouldering all of the conversion. They just send people directly to the homepage, and we wonder why we don't get conversion. So that's really the first point that I want to elaborate on. Make sure that you're clear with what you're presenting as soon as they do that click.
Yeah, so I think we've talked about that before, but I think it's always good to bring this back up. So agents, as you're watching this or you're listening, depending on where you are, but if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you comment and let us know. Do you currently run leads to your website that has a ton of information, or do you run them to a specific landing page? And then we'll talk about why, right? Jaime kind of hit on that just a bit. But comment and let us know if you're running them to your website or if you're running to a specific landing page. Jaime, if it's okay with you, I'll talk about the benefits of the landing page versus the downfalls of running them to your website.
Absolutely.
All right. So if you're running them to a website, you can run specific types of ads. So one of the key factors that's important whenever you're actually running Google ads or any ads in general is that you have to have congruency across your platforms, across your message. Your messaging has to be congruent, meaning that let's say you're marketing first-time home buyers or new construction, right, which are very popular, very good ways to get business, and business that's going to last for a really long time and generate more business. If you are running a first-time home buyer or new construction ad, and then you send them to your random website that has 50,000 places for them to click, or they're submitting their information, and your website doesn't have a landing page that says this lead came in from first-time home buyers ad, or this lead came in from new construction, you're just getting a lead, right? And that's to say that they even opt in, right? So that could be an issue. Now, if you send them to a landing page that says, your ad said this is for new construction, or this ad is for first-time home buyers, and then the website or landing page actually reiterates that point, the likelihood of you converting that lead and getting them to actually submit their information is much higher than if you send them to a web page, right? I'll give you an example. Most restaurants that are expensive, that make a lot of money, they have a menu that is this short, right? You sit down, here's the menu for the night, right? And that restaurant's gonna cost you $400, okay? You go into another restaurant, like, I don't know if I should mention any restaurants on here. I will. Like, let's go into, gosh, what's the lower level of PF Chang's? I don't even know what it's called anymore. I haven't been in the States long enough.
Panda Express, maybe that's way lower.
Yeah, Payway.
Payway.
So you go into Payway, and then they have this massive menu. that you have to look across, right? And it's like 37 different rices and 37 different types of chicken, right? And you go in there and your meal costs you $15, right? But you're confused when you first walk in and you have to sit down and look at the menu. Where if you go into an expensive restaurant, here's what you got. Pick one of the three things that we're offering you, right? So it's the same thing whenever you're talking about leads visiting your page. You went in there, you know you wanted Asian food, right? And they give you three choices that are probably the most delicious ones and best sellers they have, right? So if a lead is coming to your landing page and they visit your landing page, there's one thing they can do, and there's one thing that they're for, and that is to look to get information on buying a new construction or getting information on being a first-time home buyer and how to buy a house. Does that make sense to everybody, right? Declutter and sending them to a decluttered page versus a cluttered page that has home selling tips and buyer tips and homes from $1 million, $2 million, all this stuff, right? It's much easier to convert somebody whenever they are a very focused group and they're going to a very focused page. Let me know if that makes sense, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in the comments. Hopefully I hit that point.
It makes a ton of sense. And we got some Cheesecake Factory comments. So Jose, Cheesecake Factory, that's also good, right?
That was in the back of my head. I couldn't remember what it was called. Thank you, Jose.
That's very important. And something else to right along the same lines. And right now, just a quick summary for those of you joining us, a huge like button is going to really help send the notifications out into the live world. So we're both on Facebook and on YouTube. But just a quick recap, right now we're covering Google Ads, and then we're going to go into some free strategies to leverage Google. But to go along your point, Joseph, something else that we need to take into consideration of, decluttering what you're mentioning, but also whenever it comes to your ad copy, you have to be strategic with that. So that means if you're targeting buyers in your ad copy, make sure that it reflects, to your point that you're saying, make sure that that's reflected on your landing page. So it's not enough just to declutter and to reiterate the message. It's very important that if you're targeting buyers, new construction, make sure that that landing page is buyers and new construction. If you're targeting sellers, don't use the same landing page because that is going to be confusing. You're confusing the message and people are going to be lost. So yes, you may have the most beautiful, elegant, clean, modern looking landing page of all time, but at the end of the day, if you have that message disconnect, you're not going to get your conversion. So it may feel a little bit, let me put it where you'll actually take action. Don't be lazy. I was going to sugarcoat it, but that's what it is. Do not be lazy with your creation of your ads, because at the end of the day, think about it. This is actually costing you money. Anytime somebody clicks on that, it's going to be $5, $20, $80, depending on where you're trying to attract the lead from. So just be cognizant of that. You want to give yourself the best leg forward to get something to actually convert.
Yeah, fantastic information. Yeah, it's congruency, right? Like you need to make sure that everything matches from the ad to the ad copy to the landing page to the first message that actually goes out to the lead, right? So imagine it's like, hey, thanks for visiting my website. That sounds extremely generic as the first message that goes out, right? Versus, hey, thanks for coming and getting more information on new construction homes. XYZ after that, or hey, thanks for coming in and getting information on new construction, and then whatever message after that. All right.
Absolutely. So going on into a little bit of ad copy, and then we're going to migrate out of here, but going into a little bit of ad copy, Joseph, I think something that we often overlook is we treat these too much like a commercial. So what do I mean by that?
Yeah.
Well, I guess in order for me to illustrate that point, we need to understand what we're talking about. With Google Ads, the Google Ads are what you see on the very top of that first page of Google. So that is the holy grail. That's where you want to be, at the very top. Whenever somebody types in the best realtor near me, you want your name up top. In order to be at the very top on something that competitive, you have to pay to play. And a very competitive keyword phrase like the one that I just mentioned is going to have 4 ads at the top, and then there's going to have a Google map, and then it's going to be the organic. So keep that in mind, because it's going to come into play whenever we're talking about free strategies. Then it's going to have the organic search, and then it's going to have 3 more ads at the bottom. So just a quick recap: 4 ads at the top, then you have Google Maps, then you have the organic search, and then you have 3 ads on the front page of Google. So all in all, you're looking at about 25 different placements. So you have 1 in 25 shots if you make it on the front page to actually make an impact. Now, how you go on to have that actual impact and get that click is to offer something of value within your ad. And it goes full circle to what I was mentioning, Joseph, of don't treat it so much like an advertisement, like a billboard, if you will, where, hey, just use me because I'm the best realtor. People hear that a lot. It's not going to be as valuable to your audience at that point. But if you're offering something of value, if you're after sellers, as an example, what you want to do is give something like a net sheet, or let me even backtrack from that. Give something that is more towards the outcome. Want to know exactly how much you can sell your home for today. Want to know exactly how much you can take home after all expenses. You want to offer that on the front so you can get that click. They go over to your landing page and then they convert. So offer something up front that's a value that's going to elicit that click, and you convert them on the landing page.
Yeah. I mean, it's you can't be super broad with it, right? I think that's the point, right? Like, if you're trying to be super broad with your messaging, you're going to really not appeal to anybody, right? I think one of the quotes, and I'll try to paraphrase this the best I can. It's like, if you're trying to appeal to everyone, you're appealing to no one, right? So you have to make sure that in this process, and you're going to hear us repeat this over and over again, everything has to be very specific to who you're trying to target, right? And then in regard to bringing people in, as Jaime was just talking about, you have to think of law of attraction, which, all of you who follow me and have watched any of our podcasts, I'm a huge fan of law of attraction, because law of attraction is giving people what they want. And you getting something in exchange, typically, when it comes to marketing anyway. That's not actually the actual technical term of law of attraction, but when it comes to marketing, that is the how it works, right? You give something, you get something, right? And so you need to figure out what these folks want in your market to give to them, right? So if it's, if they want to have ways, 7 ways to sell your house faster for more money, then that might be your ad, right? 7 ways to increase the speed of selling your house, or 5 ways to help your house sell in 10 days or less, right? Those are things that are going to drive people to that website and then convert them, as Jaime was saying. Be very, very specific on what you want to offer them and attract them to that thing.
Absolutely. So when it comes to the ads, I think that we've covered the landing page, which is super important. We talked a little bit about the ad copy itself. Do you feel comfortable moving on to the free strategies? Or everybody that's listening in live, let us know, do you want us to go in deeper on the Google Ads part? I really want this to be a bit more interactive. So if you want us to go into more technical component without losing the entire audience, just let us know in the comment section down below before we go on to the free strategies. I think that a lot of folks are waiting for that aspect. So I'll give it a couple of seconds and read through the comments here. Looks like somebody is ranking at the top of their Google search. So good stuff.
Yeah, it's Travis. Congrats, Travis. Got a $350,000 contract locked in today from it. I have a $400K buyer from Colorado that I'm showing houses to on Saturday from it. But don't tell anyone. All right, we won't tell everybody about that. Just congratulations on the strategy.
Got it. Joseph has his speakers on, so when Jaime talks, it echoes. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. It's we'll fix that with our little headphones are acting up. So that's actually not just Joseph. That's my issue as well. So hopefully Apple will sponsor this podcast soon, and that issue will go away.
Get us fixed up. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I have tried 2 different things. I think it's my phone. So hopefully in the future, maybe Jaime, I'll call you while I'm at the Apple store so the Apple people can truly see what's going on. I'm like, I already went in there last week. I was like, I host a weekly podcast. We host a weekly podcast, and this is the issue I'm having. They're like, here's some new headphones. I was like, cool, this should work. No, that didn't work. So it's definitely the phone. So we'll see if they give me a new phone whenever I go in next week.
There you go. They don't want us trash talking them. So
yeah,
they know what's good for them.
Yeah, they know. I think it's the YouTube folks who are hearing the echo, right? Because Facebook
it's
folks
the
are saying
YouTube. So if that's not if that's true, it's true. It's Zoom. So it's our Zoom thing.
Yeah. So what's happening is I have a mic here. We have our phone. We're talking through the phone. So the Zoom is picking up, the mic from the Zoom is picking up you and me and coming through that mic. So I think that's really the issue that we're having.
Okay. And that once we get that status, so I forgot to send that message. I think once I send that message and I get access, I think that'll go away. So for next week, for sure.
You're right. Yeah. So Nora says, man, Joseph, what camera are you using? iPhone 12 mini. That's really all it is just iPhone 12 mini right now for this. I don't know if you're asking about anything else. But if you were on the Zoom, you would see that Jaime looks 1,000 times better with his camera than we actually just had this conversation about, depending on what platform you're using and who's hosting the call. That person who's hosting the call typically looks cleaner than the other person.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny how that works.
All right, so everyone had the opportunity to comment on their Google ad questions. Now feel free to drop them down below as we go on to the next strategy. So we're talking about Google leads. So this is a huge opportunity for every single real estate agent out there. As we know, Google dominates the search space. So you absolutely want to make a presence whenever somebody goes online and decides to buy a home or sell a home. That would be the absolute holy grail of your total marketing, presence. Now, prior to, let's just say a week ago, I would have really reinforced the Zillow aspect. But as we know, Zillow just acted a fool again. And I don't want to be one of those people that absolutely just, Zillow this, Zillow that, Zillow whatever. But as we know, just so everybody knows, so we're current in our real estate profession, Google has deleted, 2 years worth of data for past sales?
2 years past sales. 2 years past sales.
2 years past sales. So if you were very active in real estate altogether and were really active in keeping all of your sales on Zillow, then they're gone. Congratulations. So now more than ever, you absolutely want to rank above those people, right? So that, again, I don't want to get into this bashing of Zillow this, Zillow that. At the end of the day, it's your business. But what I'm really trying to illustrate is that Google is it's a huge funnel that if you dominate it and you make a presence on that part of that funnel, you're going to have business for days, for years, forever. So that is what we're talking about. I think, is that a fair characterization?
Yeah, I think so, right? Like it's well, if you don't mind, I'm going to talk about the whole Zillow thing. I'll be that guy. I'll be the guy on the call. All right. So here's the point of this whole Zillow thing. You need to be able to, okay, so this is where Google ads and all this information comes into play. So Zillow, obviously, as Jaime just stated, erased 2 years of sales data, right? Meaning that if you had leads or closings from or listed on Zillow and had these reviews, those are just like, everything's just gone, right? So what you want to start doing is you want to make sure, yes, you have your website and that's important, but after somebody clicks and gets the information they want and you provide that information, you send them over to your testimonial site. And so this is what we do in marketing. This is like one of the big secrets in marketing. It's like, how do you get people to close with you? Well, you have your results, right? And people see what people say about working with you. And that's what helps close people to continue working with you. So for example, let's say that, our company has, 200 reviews. Of those, probably 97% are positive. I'm going to send people to that site, right? It's like, okay, here's your information you wanted. I'm glad you got it. By the way, if you want to see what other people are saying about us, click here. agents need to learn how to do that. You're a marketing company as well. Marketing companies need to have results and positive reviews to be able to send that information over. So make sure that you have that information to send over. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
And so they can't erase your website that has your testimonials on it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why it's important to have not just a landing page to get leads, but also somewhere to send them once you have them where you want them. Right.
And, you know, I'll go ahead and raise my hand on this one since we're going there and really highlight the Google aspect. We haven't lost our path. This is just an extension of where we're going. The whole, your website is an asset that you can control is super important. So this is a good time to really introduce the aspect of where you build your site matters. Now, and this is where we start breaking off and doing different aspects of marketing. I still am a firm believer that your regular website is one that needs to be continually updated. Whether you do that on a WordPress website or on a Squarespace website, Wix website, whatever it happens to be, make sure that it continues to be updated. So to Joseph's point, you're collecting your reviews from there. Now, where I raised my hand on, and I actually was guilty on this, and I just recently did the pivot in light of our Z friends. I used to suggest the top 3 was Google, Facebook, and Zillow. That's where you wanted your reviews to land. But then having seen that and really analyzed the business, not only mine, but also the agents that I personally work with, I reverted and switched past all the way around and am only suggesting the website because that's the only thing that you can control. You can lose your Facebook page very quickly. Either it gets deleted, it gets hijacked, it gets whatever, and it's gone. Google, it's a little bit on the same thing. It's going to be a little bit harder, but at the end of the day, I still do at this point, going back and echoing your point, having a asset that you can control, putting all of your testimonials there and making them either video testimonials or making them testimonials are actually real for one is very important, but having those on your website is going to do so much better for you than putting them on the other platforms, especially as Zillow proved us, I guess, right in several respects. So I completely re-switched my strategy or switched my strategy. Instead of the top 3, I just suggest your website at this point.
Yeah. There's something about holding your own data, right? We all know that the companies that hold the data are the companies that run the world right now, right? You look at Google, you look at Facebook, you look at Apple, who pretty much controls all the data, which most people don't realize that. Those are the folks who run the world because they run the business and they run the data. Now imagine if you collected data from hundreds or thousands of buyers and sellers, and it's all on your website and all their information is there. You don't necessarily have to rely, especially once you start having closings upwards of 50 to 100, you don't have to rely on these websites anymore. And that's the part that I think people are missing out on. It's not just that they're taking your buyers and your sellers. They're able to erase your information anytime they want to, right? And what are you going to do about it? You're going to sue them? I'm sure in their terms and conditions, they're like, we have the ability to do this at any time, and you signed a contract that said that, right? So you have to own the information, you have to own the data, you have to own where you're sending people. And that's just my personal view, but I think people are starting to understand that. We've been saying it for years, and it's starting to play out the way we said it would, right? I'm not a prophet, but I can teach you how to make profits.
But I make a profit. Speaking of profits, Joseph, thanks for the great content. Jaime got 35 leads in 2 days with your Facebook buyer content. Bam, Tala.
Good job.
Thank you so much. That's over on YouTube. So, hey, thank you so much there. That's awesome. 35 leads, right? How much does it cost on average to rank on the top of Google Ads? If that's a loaded question, if I've heard one. All right, so Travis, that's a fantastic question. It's going to depend on your market. It's depend on the outcome that you're trying to achieve. So if you're looking at low-hanging fruit, is what I call the keywords that are not very competitive, that are not heavily searched. Those are going to be per click, low hanging fruit for buyer and seller side, I would say right now in most markets, I have to really speak in generalities here. In most markets, low hanging fruit clicks are anywhere from 50 cents to about $2.50. Now, the beauty about that is that those clicks are relatively inexpensive. The downside to that is that there aren't as many because not many people are searching for those. Now, it's going to depend on those actual keywords that you're targeting for. Some of them are a little bit closer to the decision point than others. So just to give you some general numbers, again, I'm speaking very in generalities, about 50 cents to $2.50. That's the inexpensive click in Google's eyes, and it's going to come with a mixed bag. That's the best I could do on that one, Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's very much going to be mixed, right? It's going to depend on, like, if you're saying new construction in whatever city you live in Colorado, Travis, and you're running an ad for that, that's going to be much higher than a general best real estate agent in whatever city in Colorado, right? Because those type of words are going to be much highly ranked, because if you think about everybody that's running an ad to that, including not just your own brokerage, but also the builders who spend $50,000 to $100,000 a month, they're going to outspend you, right? And so they're going to drive that price up as much as they possibly can to wipe you out. The person who owns the four corners of the four, let's call it 4 gas stations on a corner, they're going to make all the money, right? If there's 3 of them, they'll eventually beat out the third guy or the fourth guy, because they're going to lower the prices enough to kick somebody else out or increase their prices enough, right? So that's going to vary depending on what you're trying to market for. And that's why Facebook ads have always been, not always, has started to become the go-to thing, or YouTube, because it's cheaper, which I think we'll get into YouTube being part of Google in a second. But again, those prices will vary. Travis also asked another question here, Jaime.
Okay.
Which we'll dive into a bit as well. The question was, what's some of the best keywords, sentences that attract people to click on the Google ads? So I don't know if you want to hit that.
So with those, I always get really good. And there I go, using a very aggressive word. Always. Let's step it back, because I'm not feeling that bold, if you will. But what really works is something that has to do with, do you qualify? Are you eligible? So people want answers. So are you eligible for a $300,000 home? Now I'll give you the example what the back end looks like, but you asked for keywords. So those are the words that I like to stick to. It's almost like a little quiz, almost like a little game, if you will. Are you eligible? How much can you afford? People want answers to that, and they don't necessarily know what goes into that. They don't know what debt to income ratio is. They don't know what range they need to be on with their credit score. So they just want to know, this house is $400,000. Can I buy it? That's basically it. So that's one strategy. Another strategy is really make it about that house porn, that house, showing the houses that are pretty awesome in the neighborhood. So if you know that a lot of people are moving into the Friscos of the world, and you know there's so much demand. Frisco is a local DFW town here. You know there's so much demand for that particular school. In that particular town, you make it about the schools, or you make it about Frisco in and of itself because of the reputation that it has. So there's different strategies that you can approach it from. Just giving you a few examples.
Yeah, that's great. So I agree with all those things. And so I want to tell a story, Jaime. As you know, I'm really good at having stories. I'm starting to get old, and I think that's where all the stories start baking in. I remember my uncles and their friends and older people always having stories. It's because they had experienced things, right? So here's a story based on experience. So I went and presented to this multimillionaire insurance company on marketing whenever I was back in the States, and we got the contract. But one of the stories that one of the guys told was, there's a billionaire who walks into let's say to a CVS, right? Billionaire. doesn't need anything, has all the money he needs in the world, he's happy, whatever. But what happens is he wants to apply for a CVS gift or a CVS card, right? Which we all know is like to get points or whatever, to get discounts, so forth and so on. So he wants it for his medical reasons, to buy his medicine. So they're like, well, you have to apply to see if you qualify. This guy starts sweating, right? Because he's worried. He's like, am I going to be able to get the CVS card to be able to get these discounts on my medicine? Again, keep in mind, this guy's a billionaire. And so the moral of the story was, it doesn't matter who it is in the world. The thing that they all want to know, we all want to know, is, do we qualify, right? And so whenever you use that word, qualify, quality, approval, those are things that people want to know if they can do. If they haven't bought a house before, hey, here's another example. If you want listings, does your house qualify to be sold within 30 days, right? Does your house meet approval to be sold within 30 days, right? People are gonna be like, I'm sure my house qualifies to be sold in 30 days. I got the best house in the neighborhood, right? Or I added, this koi pond in the backyard. It's gonna sell fast, right?
Yep.
But they still want to know, and so they're gonna fill out the form. And so those are things that Travis, as we talk about this, and anybody else who's watching, those are key words that drive people to take action. They are qualify, approval, program, right? Everybody wants to be a part of a program. Everybody wants to know if they're approved to be a part of the program. Everybody wants to know if they can qualify to be a part of anything, right? And so that's why those words typically work whenever you're looking at that, right? Do you qualify to buy a new construction house? Do you qualify to buy your first home? Do you qualify for down payment assistance, right? These are all things that you can use. Now it's the secondary part of that statement, right? Find out if you qualify for XYZ, right? So those are some of the key words that you can look for, Travis. Now, the second part of that, new construction, new construction houses in whatever market, so forth and so on. That's where Haim is saying you might divert from some of those things and look at neighborhoods or look at schools, because those might bring your cost down per lead as you look at that.
100%. 100%. Now, before the technical people kind of like me go off and start working on bots and start working with developers and try to do what Quicken Loans does and qualifies people on that, don't. Don't, because when we start talking about qualifying, when we start, are you approved? We were thinking of, well, crap, now we have to design all of this stuff and give them an answer at the end of the funnel. No, you don't have to. You can use that qualifying language, pardon the pun. You can use that qualifying language in your ads to start getting more information from them on your funnels. You can start asking questions, very much the same questions that your lender's going to ask them. Well, how much do you make? How much debt do you have? X, Y, and Z. So by the time that they get through with it, well, you have an application in hand. And you could either do that on your end, which you're a realtor, you probably won't, or you can have your lender field those all day long. So you're asking questions. That's what's happening. So don't think that you have to go out there and do a freaking bot or work with a developer. So all these calculations get done by the time that they've pressed enter or submit. Don't do that. Just ask questions, and you don't have to ask a lot. Ask 3 questions that are important to you and then move on. Just want to make sure everyone's okay with that.
That's awesome. Jaime, can I just say I'm laughing right now because not at you or me or this podcast, but the world works in funny ways, right? So, I just did a live right before this and, and making sure that everybody had information they needed. And so as you're talking about these bots and things, and I'm laughing because as you said that, one of our agents, and this is kind of a plug, kind of not a plug, intentional, but he said, so he just got 2 listing appointments or 2 contracts from 3 listing appointments that we got him this past week. And he said he came in dancing past his wife, or his lack of dancing. His wife was laughing because he can't dance. So immediately the first thing I thought about was when you said robot, I imagined him going into the kitchen doing the robot in front of his wife, because you said robot as soon as that message came in and I was watching it. Anyhow, nice. Man, that's hilarious.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to build everything out. like immediately. That's not what you need to do, right? It's you can get them information later. It's just trying to draw people in. Then you can get them what they need to find out if they qualify. But yeah, as Jaime said, you're as an agent, you're probably not going to be the one qualifying them anyway. And if you really want to be lazy, you can send them to your lender. Just keep in mind, if your lender's not awesome, they're probably not going to call all your leads. I just had a call with somebody or a conversation with somebody about that the other day. I was like, do you have the notes from all your from the lenders supposedly calling all your leads? No. How do you know they call all the leads? Because I just know they did. All right, good luck. Like, I'm not going to trust anybody to make my own sandwich and then they bring it over to me and there's air sitting on the plate. That's not a sandwich made, right? So like, just because they said it, the air came out of their mouth doesn't necessarily mean that they did what they said they're going to do. So yeah, you don't have to build everything out. Just make sure you have a good partner whenever you're running these leads in to make sure that you that everybody's getting qualified the way they need to be qualified. So Travis, hopefully we answered your question there.
Absolutely. So one quick question that came across over here on the YouTube side. Huge reminder, if you're listening to this podcast, 5-star review goes a long way. If you want to get in on the conversation, we go live at 8 p.m. Every Thursday. Well, 8 p.m. Central every Thursday. So make sure that you check us out on Facebook or on YouTube. You can find us and it will be linked down in the show notes. So if you want to get in the conversation, that's the great time to do it. One question that's come up. Can you guys touch on Google Ads remarketing campaign? How long do I have to wait to start the campaign? Joseph, I'm going to chime in here for a quick second and burst people's bubbles. Remarketing with Google Ads is not as simple as Facebook ads. And the reason being is because there's a barrier to entry. With Google Ads, you have to spend $50,000 to have access to that, have access to the remarketing campaign. However, there are workarounds. We'll get into the workarounds, but just be aware that with remarketing, there is a barrier to entry. So a lot of people are not aware of that. For the whole remarketing aspect, it's something that you have to spend money with Google on, and we're a little bit spoiled because on Facebook, you can do that immediately. So just want to make sure everyone is aware of that.
Well, Jaime, that's something new. I had no idea, right? Like I've never I've only marketed on Google. I've never tried to remarket. 50,000 is a lot of money, right? You might be able to get some cheap leads, but if you're going to go remarket, so whoever asked that question, good question. So that leads me, at least in my thought process, I'm always thinking about, as Jaime knows, whenever it comes to marketing, I'm thinking about ways to cut my cost, right? Increase my revenue, right? So as we talk about that, the thing that comes to mind is, okay, so I generate people, and this is important why you should have a landing page where you can put a Facebook pixel. And if you don't know how to do that, go watch Jaime's YouTube and he tells you how to do that for free, by the way. And so what I would say is, if you're going to run ads on Google and you do that and you're sending them to a landing page, you have your Facebook pixel, and this is, now we're getting into a point of talking about being omnipresent, right? Mm-hmm. And so omnipresent, for those of you who don't know, that means like being everywhere all the time. And people don't know how to do that when it comes to marketing and don't know how you do it, right? And it looks like magic and people are like, God, this guy knows how to do everything, right? And it's really simple. So if you don't have $50,000 to spend or haven't spent that much on Google in the past, you run your normal marketing that you're going to run on neighborhoods, whatever you're going to be running on new construction, first-time home buyers. And then you send them to your landing page, and this should answer one of the guy's questions that asked us earlier. You run them to your landing page, have your pixel there, and then you start retargeting them with Facebook ads, right? And then you can do Facebook ads to everywhere if you wanted to, or to just, if you're going to remarket, I suggest remarketing to everywhere. That's where remarketing really comes into play, because they open their app and they're going to play like whatever Candy Crush. I don't even know what game's popular. Candy Crush, Pub. I guess that's one of them, right? I don't know exactly how. I don't know what games are out there. Anyway, they open Google. They open anything else. Guess whose face they're going to see, or whose information they're going to see? They're going to see your information. So you can do that, as Jaime said, immediately. So I would spend my money on Google, retarget with Facebook. That's how I would look at doing things.
Bam. See, that's what that's how I know you're the real OG, where you didn't know that. Well, not the aspect of not knowing, but where you get information real time and find a solution real time. because that's actually the solution I was going to give. So I'm pissed now. But since it's you, that's good. However, that is spot on. That's exactly how, I'm not going to say it's a workaround, but think about it. So the strategy, the path that Joseph just laid out, which was perfect, is think about you as a consumer. You're searching, right? You're searching for a realtor. You're searching for a house. You're searching for X, Y, and Z. You're in real estate mode. At some point, that mode stops, right? You can only visit so many websites. You can only read so many articles. You can only do so much. But then when you take your break and, because people's attention span to sit down and actually do work is very limited, they're going to go over to Facebook. They're going to go to Instagram, and guess who they see? Oh, crap, there's Joseph. Oh, man. Yeah. So that is powerful. That is powerful. So just absolutely take that, and Tala, take that absolutely and run with it. Going one step further goes back to having landing pages. If you want to make it a YouTube video on your landing page as well, talking about a certain, let's just say if you're targeting sellers, if you want to give them a bit of value up front in your landing page and share the top 3 mistakes to avoid when buying a home in your little landing page. And as soon as it fires and people actually start watching that video, you will be able to retarget them on YouTube. So this is omnipresent, right? So yes, we have that $50,000 barrier right now between you and being able to retarget. And that's okay. That's okay. Not everybody has spent $50,000. We breached that, a long time ago. So that's something that I took it for granted for the longest time because, it's not a barrier for me, but it's a barrier for a lot of people. So with that being said, going to the omnipresence of Facebook, Instagram, and the partner websites, you can do the same thing if you embed a YouTube video, has to be YouTube, a YouTube video on your landing page, and then retarget from YouTube ads because there you are able to do it based off of the people that viewed your video. So there's different ways to skin the cat, as they say. And I don't know why that became a phrase, but people say it, so I'm saying it now. So there's different ways for you to be omnipresent. You just need to be aware of your surroundings and the capabilities. And that's why it pays to listen to this podcast, the Agent Resource Podcast, right?
Yeah. So Jaime, I want to say this point to everybody one more time that's watching this or listens to this later. Jaime just basically told you how to double track people, double retarget people, right? 1, you're sending them to the landing page that has a Facebook pixel. 2, you're sending them to watch a YouTube video that you can now retarget them using YouTube ads, right? Which I don't think people are understanding this concept. Like as you said that, my mind was like, yes, I'm gonna do this now because I'm gonna make so much money off of this, right? Because if you think about this, I'm basically, I'm spending money from 2 different sources, right? One's Google, one is Facebook, right? But I can technically spend money for just one source if I really wanted to, and then be able to retarget them from 2 different sources, right? And so by being able to do that from one landing page, ladies and gentlemen, is so freaking brilliant because you're cutting your cost by at a minimum 50%, right? By a minimum 50%. And so those of you who are spending marketing dollars, if you really want to implement this strategy, that's how you go do it, and that's how you cut your costs and make more money, right? And again, looking at cutting costs, that's a way to do it. So Jaime, great point. Love it. I'll give you. Can I give a tip as well? Since we're dropping these little nuggets, big bombs.
Drop it.
So what? First off, if you haven't gone and you haven't subscribed to the podcast, be sure to do that. 5-star review, as Jaime stated earlier, would be very, very helpful. And liking this particular video that you're watching right now, and dropping a comment if you're enjoying the information is very helpful as well. So one thing that I just got off my mastermind call with our agents and we were discussing was what is something that is different than everybody else is doing, right? And what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to disseminate information to people using video. And what a lot of people think is they have to do the fancy things that we do, Jaime, whenever we're doing, marketing videos and we're they're 7-10 minutes long and we're doing all these things, and that's great. And I think you should be able to do that. That just takes longer. But what I want you to be able to think about is, let's say these leads come in, you have their contact information, email, phone number. I prefer phone number, not necessarily to call them, but to text them information. And so what you do, and what I told our agents to do, is you break down the buying process into 30-second to 1-minute clips. And then you have a series called How to Buy a House in 30 Days, right? And all you're doing, ladies and gentlemen, is just regurgitating the information that you know you need. Getting pre-approved, right? Getting in contact with the lender, making sure that you know that you have to have escrow money, right? Like these little steps, and then you send it as a series to all of your leads, right? And you can send it to them and have them click to a landing page so that you can retarget them. You can post it directly to your own Facebook page. So you literally are creating content that can be disseminated in so many places, and then you can then utilize that to retarget people. But it's literally just regurgitating what you know, and then just disseminating back out to the public, right? And it'll take half a day to create all the content, if that. I guarantee you probably do it in an hour. And then you just have content to just spit out like to every one of your leads, right? And so that's what we're talking about doing, and our agents will be doing. They'll be creating a series, a 7-day series, or however many steps there are to the buying process in 30 days that they'll be sending to all their leads, right? Especially first-time home buyer and new construction. And they'll have a closing from it. There's no doubt about it.
Bam. I dig it. I dig it. That is awesome. That's awesome. So the fact that you brought in some such knowledge there, well, you know what I have to do now. I have to beat it. So here we go.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you had to put your Cash App.
No, that's coming after. That's coming after I drop this one. After I drop this one, I fully expect to get compensated for this one. So we were talking about keyword phrases. We were talking about keyword phrases early on with your Google ads. If you want to get real phone numbers extremely quickly, here's what happens. In your Google ads, again, as we're talking about what keyword phrases, what do we actually put in those ad copies? How can we make them effective? If you want to get real phone numbers, have real conversations, what you can do is in your ad copy, you can have people text you directly. Text 940-395, and then I'll leave the rest of my cell phone out. So you can type in you can put your phone number up there and ask people to text you their address for an instant home offer or an instant home valuation. Just be careful with the word valuation because it's not accepted everywhere based off of your state regulation. So just be sure that you're able to say that. But anyway, what you're alluding to is asking people to text you with their real address, and then you have their real phone number, and you also have their real address. Now, you didn't necessarily say how long it's going to take. You also didn't necessarily say how you were going to come up with that valuation. So as soon as you get that text, wherever it is in the middle of the night, you're calling them. So you're calling them and asking for a little bit more qualifying questions. So a lot of people, whenever I share this strategy with my agents, they get a little bit apprehensive. Well, I need to have the price. Well, no, you don't, because you don't know the condition. You don't know where any updates have been made. You don't know anything about the house outside of the address. You have a general understanding, and we know that we can have a good ballpark, a good range, but we don't know if that's a complete. Let me be generous. Let's just say it's not updated. So you're calling as a courtesy. Hey, Tommy, I just received your request for a home valuation. Just want to ask you 2 quick things, if I may. Sure. Have you done X, Y, and Z to the house? So have you done any upgrades to the house? No. Awesome. Great. And then do you have any equity on it? Just so you can send out the net sheet as a value add. So you offered one thing and you're adding even more. But at the end of the day, what I don't want to get lost here before I get too granular with other aspects, that you're asking people to text you from the real phone number through an ad, and then you are getting that lead, and it's a real lead. So there, we didn't even have to talk about landing pages. It's right there in front of you.
It's all built in, right?
100%.
So as you talked about the beginning part of this, Hyman, that you had people texting in. So I thought this was really maybe, I don't know if it's clever or not, but you already have the content. If you're doing the strategy that I was talking about, like you go into these Facebook groups and you post text XYZ, right? Text XYZ. Sorry, the people are sending me these GIFs. Text Stop laughing. Can't stop laughing at the stuff people are sending me. Text XYZ to XYZ number, right? Text how to buy a house in 30 days to 512222, right? And what happens is that triggers you to know that people want to know how to buy a house in 30 days. These people want to know how to buy a house in 30 days. And then you can start sending your video series to these people, right? So you take the same strategy that's been around, and that's text this number to get this information on this house. You take that and you use it a different way. Text XYZ to get the video series on how to buy a house in 30 days, right? And boom, people start texting in, and now you got people who are interested in buying a house coming to you. They're coming to your phone, right? Or if you use a system, they're coming to your system. And now, if you really want to get fancy, then you can automate it. I suggest maybe at some point, but not in the beginning. You need to make sure you know what it looks like, and then you can automate it later. Everybody tries to automate stuff too fast. Anyway, now you have people texting you, coming to you, wanting to know how to buy a house in 30 days. If that isn't like the easiest money to be made, I don't know. I don't even know what else to tell people, right? Like that's so easy to be able to do that type of stuff, right? So anyway, that's what I got.
Well, now it's the perfect time to send around that Cash App. So guys, we are starving over here. We're shelling out so much value, so much information. And yes, this is boastful, but all we ask is for you to drop off an undisclosed amount at an undisclosed location that we're going to go pick up later. Just kidding. We want a like from you. That would be fantastic. If you're here live, a like is going to go a long way. It's going to go a long way. What was that, Joseph?
I said, we're going to go drop a empty briefcase off somewhere. Make sure you fill it with cash. We'll go pick it up later.
Yeah, and you don't have to pay us right now. You can just pay us with the commission checks that you're going to cash. That's the true value. That's the true value. So if you're listening on the podcast, though, highly encourage you to give us a 5-star review. That's going to go a long way. We'd absolutely love to see that. So let's just see how we're doing on time. We are actually, Joseph, I hate to do this, but we might need to retitle this to Google Ads because we could not get out of the Google Ads department to save our lives today. So if we can give ourselves a few more minutes and really tie the loose ends with Google Ads, guys, we're going to make it up to you. Guys and gals, we're going to absolutely make it up to you. Next week, we'll, no, we already have something programmed, Joseph. We will bring Google, just only talk about free lead generation strategies with Google. Our apologies on that, but Pat is a terrible producer and just did not keep us on track today. With Google Ads, one of the things, what's your podcast called? The Agent Lead Source Podcast is our podcast name. You can find us on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, anywhere. We are absolutely anywhere. If you are looking to rate us and give us that 5-star review, I believe it's only the Apple Play Store or the Apple podcast that allows us to do that. So make sure to do that 5-star over there. When it comes to Google Ads, one of the things that we need to be cognizant of is having a budget. So this is a very loaded question, especially since we don't have that much time. I want to speak in more generalities because I get this question quite a bit, Joseph. I'm sure you do as well. What I encourage agents to do is whenever they're talking about marketing strategies, to give themselves at least 4 months to see it through. And that's for anything. Whether you're doing direct mail, actually that might be the one exception that does require a little bit more. Whether you're doing cold calling, whether you're doing door knocking, whether you're doing Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram ads, YouTube, whatever it happens to be, maybe with the exception of direct mail and YouTube, I would see those as more long-term. But the other strategies, I would say 4 months is enough time for you to see if, hey, this is having some traction. Is this working or not? And course correct. So what I encourage agents to do as we're talking about Google ads and talking about the budget aspect, I want you to set aside at least, hear me, at least $500 a month for the next 4 months and see this through. So that is $2,000 to invest in your Google ad spend. Now, this number is based off of the agents that I work with personally, and I have worked with in the past. So this is something that it seems to be that number that'll give us enough time to do some split testing. It'll give us enough time and money to do split testing. It would give us enough of a budget to start working on different campaigns and actually have some meaningful results in their business. Could you do it with less? Yes, absolutely. Could you do it with more? Sure. But at the end of the day, we need $500, or at least give yourself $500 as a fixed cost in your business that this is going to go 500. We're going to do 500 this month, next month, the next month, and the next month, and then see what comes from it, as opposed to going into Google Ads, having all this energy, trying to learn everything that you possibly can with this podcast and other videos out there and other resources, only to invest $100 in your ad spend and then calling it garbage if it doesn't work. That's the bad mentality to go into it with.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. So one of the things that I find, and I know we're talking about Google Ads and that's what this is about. But one thing I want to hit on, Jaime, for anybody who watches this and makes it to this point, is one thing that I see a lot of agents do is they start making some money and they start spending the money immediately. And the point that I'm trying to make on this particular thing when it comes to money is you need to learn how to budget your business. So let's say, for example, you do want to do Google Ads. You get a closing, you pay your bills, and then you need to allocate a certain percentage to marketing. And whenever I say allocate, I mean literally take that out and maybe put it into a different bank account, a business bank account, another personal account, whatever the case is. So you know that you have that money for your business, not for your going out and having dinner with family and buying your kids clothes and things like that. That should be a totally different bucket. I know we're not a financial channel or anything like that, but I'm just telling people what I see when I talk to business owners is we'll help them close a $500,000 house and then they don't have any money left over. And I'm like, where did your money go? And they're like, well, I paid this marketing company $1,500 or $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000. I'm like, why did you do that? Like, you just made money for free doing something we taught you how to do. Why did you go spend that money if you weren't ready to spend the money yet? Right. And so what I want people who are watching this to understand is, yes, you can go spend your money however you want. I'm not telling you how to run your business, but what I'm telling you is you need to learn how to actually financially set up your business, right? And to make good decisions on what you should be spending your money on. All right. So you make $6,000, take at least 10% of it and put it on the side and allow that 10% to go make you more money. Right. And then the other stuff that you're utilizing for your houses and your house, your mortgage, all these, your car payments, your kids, so forth and so on, fine, go spend that where you need to. But make sure you have allotted at least $600 and also money for your fees, right? And so once you have that set, you know what your budget looks like every month. And then as you make more money, you take 10% out again, right? And you put that over there. And if you want to increase it and you can live off of a smaller amount and put more into your business, what naturally happens is if you're spending in the right place, your money goes up, right? And if you're spending in the wrong place, guess what happens? Your money goes down. So then you can really understand how to balance your business. So I felt like that was really important to say as we talked about, getting ready to spend money on Google or these other places.
I dig it. And you just stepped on a landmine. So I can't stop. Here, Joseph. Sorry, but I think you're going to absolutely agree with me on, well, yeah, I think you will. So there's a difference between, the example that you gave, the $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 that, some companies out here charge, which they be wild in sometimes.
Yeah.
One thing that, and I say this with some skin in the game and some vested interest in this. I sell courses, I sell services. I am in that business. Do I price gouge? Hell no. But here's the thing. If some digital marketer out there, and I'm going to, upset my YouTube, because a lot of digital marketers on my YouTube channel watch it and actually learn how to do it, but how to do advertising, not price gouge. If a digital marketer out there is telling you to go out and put their program on a credit card, go into debt, I'm going to encourage you to hang up on those people in the call or just discommunicate altogether, because I don't know why this happened, but just last week I heard that from 3 different agents, and these are agents that are doing well. I mean, obviously they might have the money to do it, but there's a difference between a wise investment and then just not one. So I just wanted to make that public service announcement to everybody. If you're going into debt to buy some of these courses out there that are selling for $1,000, 2,500, 7,000, whatever it happens to be, it's not worth it. Trust me, it is not worth it. What you're getting right now is part of, we hear this all the time, the ClickFunnels mafia. So this is, you're being sold, and that's exactly what's happening. So if you're thinking about going into debt because somebody has promised you the solution for the eternal fruit of leads and whatever, no, that's not, I know it sounds silly and a bad note to as we're wrapping up here, but I really want to say that because it's something that some people are keeping these folks in business, and they are paying the $5,000, are paying $10,000 for something that, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but for something that they saw on my YouTube channel for free, they repackaged it, sold it to you, and now you're in debt.
I'm glad you said that. So what I was going to say is agents aren't even being sold. They're being resold. Right. And so right. Because a lot of these marketing companies are out there. They will, and I was part of that at one point in my life, right? Like you buy a product, learn it, and then you can resell it. Right. And so, so I'm trying to be as careful as I can, but also want to be as honest as I can too. If you are going to work with somebody, and I said this on my live earlier because it's important, leads don't matter. Leads don't matter. What matters is appointments and closings. So if you're talking to a marketer and they can't tell you how many appointments that have come from a certain product or certain service, or they can't tell you how many closings have come from a certain product or a certain service, go the other way. Because if they can't track their data and have information on that data besides my leads cost $1, that's a problem, right? Because Jaime and I can, like I said on my live, I can generate leads for 50 cents, 25 cents. I can do an ad, same ad, run to Africa to get my costs down, because I just say Africa because that's just a place where leads cost like 0 cents. And so I can drive my costs down, but then send you only leads that come from another place. I'm like, hey, the leads are coming in. They only cost like 25 cents. Like anybody who knows how to do marketing knows how to do that. The important thing is, where are the appointments? Where are the closings, right? Like I was just saying earlier from our seller masterclass, this guy has 2 contracts, right? Because of the ads that my partner runs for him or taught him how to run. He has 2 contracts in 7 days. Like that's real money that guy is going to make. He paid $500 for it, right? And so that's what I think we want people to understand is like, if you're going to run Google ads or you're going to go learn from somebody that has results and not just leads. And so I just feel like these are things that, I know we're getting into the weeds on this stuff. I'm in, at this point now we're coaching people on how to run their business, but these are things that people need to know. So I'll leave it at that. Make sure the person that you're talking to that you're going to buy from has results they can actually show you and not just leads.
1,000%. And don't take this as us pontificating. Don't take this as, hey, they're the gurus and use us. No. Honestly, at the risk of offending the audience, we don't care if you use us or not. This is going to continue going. The only thing we're asking for is 5 stars and likes. At no point, with the joke of, the Cash App, which we never gave you a Cash App to send to, so obviously it's a joke. But
we're more superficial than
yeah, we're just vanity. We're after vanity. We already made our money. We're not suggesting that you use us. We're just giving you some advice that we're seeing out there. The benefit of the position that Joseph and I is a little bit different, not better, it's just different. So we get to interact with a lot of real estate agents from different brokerages, from different walks of life, from different experiences. So we get to hear a lot more than your personal experience that you're walking either alone or with a team in your community. So we get the California calls, the Florida calls, the New York calls, the Texas calls, the Singapore calls. We get all of these conversations. So we just want to pass on as much information that's valuable to you. So don't take this as a, hey, use Joseph's or use Jaime's. That's not what that's about.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like, I'm not asking anybody to use me. Like, if you see our results and you say, hey, I want to work with you, that's fine. I'm just saying, like, even if you're talking to me or talking to Jaime, ask us, like, show me your results, because it's your money, it's your family, it's your livelihood. And that's important to be able to say, I need to see, really what you're able to do. And that's no matter who's calling you, because I'm sure you get 10 calls a day, like I used to when I was in the States. You just need to be able to protect your money, right? To make it grow to more money for your family.
100%. Folks, this was fun. Really appreciate you joining us for the Agent Lead Source Podcast, episode 26. Yeah, I think it's 26. 28. I don't know, man. So just thanks for joining us. How about that 5-star review? We do this and we don't care about anything else except the vanity metrics. See y'all next week. Really appreciate you joining us for the Google Leads podcast that happens to be named the Agent Lead Source Podcast on the topic of Google Leads. I'll stop talking. Joseph, close us out. We're gone.
All right. Love you guys. Appreciate you. We'll see you next week.
Bye.